It's been said that pairing wine with food is more an art than a science, and I couldn't agree more. It's a highly subjective affair, but still one that requires a fine balance between tastes and aromas, sense and sensibilities.
Sommelier Evan Goldstein says that wine and food pairing is like having a conversation. One must listen while the other speaks, or the result is a muddle. In other words, one of the elements will dominate, while the other element must work to enhance and complement its partner without overriding it.
And today we'll be getting a few tips from Tarun Raj at the Park Hotel on how to identify and taste wines, and also how to achieve that fine balance between wine and food pairings. So Tarun, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure is all mine, thank you.
Tarun started by guiding me through the 3 first steps to tasting a wine.
Well, there are basically 3 steps involved while tasting a wine. And they are, first you feel, then you sniff, and then you taste. So I'll do it and show it to you how it is done.
Super.
Okay. Best ideal way of tasting a wine is behind a white sheet of paper or white background, basically. So you exactly come to know how does the wine look. So when you are tasting, looking at the wine first, you need to tilt a bit. You have to see beyond the white or the red wine. At the circumference, where you see at the edges, what you need to see is whether it is clear, and then do you see a yellow or a pale yellow color, or do you see a light green or an amber color or a brown color in the edges. The second step is you sniff it. So the first, you need to sniff twice basically, but some people do also sniff more than 2 times to get to the actual thing. They generally first sniff just normally to see what you're getting it. When you swirl it, the oxygen goes in, and when the oxygen goes in, the aroma comes out. You actually come to know how even more. You go deeper into the characteristics of a wine, the character of a wine, and then when you are doing it, you see the drops coming. When you swirl it, you need to swirl it, and then you see when you wait, you see there will be lines coming down. Those are called the legs. You come to know the alcohol percentage of that particular wine by seeing that. The slower it comes, the more alcohol content.
And when do we get to taste?
Well, certainly.
Is that step 3?
Yeah, the step 3 is when you
Excellent.
smell it. After smelling it, you taste it. Then if you're tasting a white wine, you have to see the flavors. What flavors are you getting? As in, are you getting a very fruity flavor which is dominating? Is it dominated by fruits as an apple or green apple or some melon, vanilla?
So now we move to a concept that is familiar here in India, matchmaking, but instead of Shaadi.com, Tarun is our matchmaker and is going to guide us through the perfect wine food match made in heaven. So what are we starting with?
Well, we are starting with the most easy to drink wine. It's the blush, otherwise called the rosé wine.
Okay.
The grape which is used in making this is white Zinfandel, and it's a Californian wine.
And what is your food suggestion?
Well, I would suggest a Parma ham with some bruschettas. It goes really well with it. Or probably a Caesar salad, any salad which has bacon.
So Tarun, what do we have here?
Well, I have something very interesting for you now. Well, so what I'm doing is I am giving you a grilled fish, a bekti, with a Pinot Noir, which is the grape variety, and the Bourgogne is the name of the wine, which is from France. Now, Pinot Noir is a very light to medium bodied kind of a grape. That's why it's not very harsh. The vintage is very young. It's 2006.
Okay.
It's 2006. So it's again a very young wine.
When partnering food with wine, make sure the 2 elements aren't competing for attention. Instead, balance is essential. A light-bodied wine like a Pinot Grigio, for example, would be overwhelmed by a heavy steak.
So as you can see, Nirupama, that the wine is very light by the color, and the grape is very light, basically. And if you swirl it, the alcohol content will also not be on a higher side.
And what effect does the swirling have on the tannins in the wine?
Well, as I told you, when you swirl the wine, the oxygen goes in. You come to know tannin as well. You come to know tannins basically are how dry the wine is. So that is the reason when you swirl a red wine, these are things which you smell basically.
So now Tarun is going to help us overcome the obstacle of pairing a wine with Indian cuisine and its complex range of spices and aromas.
Well, we have butter chicken right now, in the next dish. For me, personally, I'm like, it's definitely a white wine which goes with the butter chicken. And what better than a Chardonnay? A Chardonnay is a grape which is full-bodied and dry. Okay, this basically cut down the fat what the butter chicken has. This Chardonnay, the grape, basically cuts all this through and gives you the wine taste along. So that's why this is perfect blend.
And finally, to finish a meal. Our first option was a cheese platter which Tarun paired with a port wine. And dessert option 2 was the chocolate fondue.
Okay, so we have two options on how to end our meal. Tarun, what have you paired our chocolate fondue with?
Well, I'm pairing a chocolate fondue with a very nice Riesling. Riesling is sweet and rich with melon, pears, and with cheese I am having a port, which is, again, port is from Portuguese. Very oaky. Okay, it's aged for more than 10 years, and it's very smoky, oaky, and it has a very typical smell of a aged port.
So Tarun, thank you so much for spending your day with us.
Thank you, pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Nirupama.
And I do hope that Tarun's tips have helped to enrich your wining and dining experiences.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Question for this week's Feeding Frenzy contest. Which of the following fruits is grown on every continent except Antarctica? A. Apples. B. Plums. C. Grapes. You can send in your answers to feedback@ndtv-hindu.com.